Welcome to today's deep dive. Um, Usually when you encounter a piece of art in a museum or, a gallery, there's this silent, very comfortable contract between the artist and you, the viewer.
Right, yeah, like an unspoken agreement.
Exactly. It's like looking through a perfectly clear window. A landscape painter says, here is a mountain. And you look through the wooden frame and you say, ah, yes, a beautiful mountain.
Right, representation.
Yeah.
Your brain knows exactly what to do with it right away.
Yeah, exactly. But today, our mission is entirely different. We aren't looking through a window. We are essentially staring at a wall.
A very dense, chaotic wall.
Yeah, a chaotic but genuinely beautiful wall. We are going to thoroughly explore a single, just incredibly striking visual source today. It's a 2017 abstract canvas by the artist Anupam Gupta. He also signs his work as Machu.
Oh, it's just a phenomenal piece to unpack. Because, when you step into the realm of abstract expressionism, that comfortable window we're so used to, it just completely vanishes.
It's gone.
Right. The artist is no longer handing you a translated world. You are handed raw, unfiltered sensory input and essentially told, figure out how to navigate this.
Right, and just to set the stage for you listening right now, I want
Yeah.
you to imagine standing in front of this canvas, like down in the bottom left corner, physically scratch right into the thick paint. You'd see the signature in Hindi script. It reads, Kayu Hilo So Muchu, 2017.
Yeah, but that signature is really just the metadata, right?
Exactly. The actual experience of this canvas is intense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Over the next few minutes, we're going to travel from the raw, aggressive physical textures of the paint at the edges straight into this deeply chaotic emotional landscape in the center. And finally, we're going to discover a profound symbol of clarity hidden right inside the mess.
Which is really, honestly, a masterclass in how to read abstract art. I mean, we aren't just going to talk about what this painting looks like. We need to look at how it physically operates on your eyes and, your brain. And the best place to start that process is with the immediate visceral reality of the piece. Like, before we try to find any grand meaning or metaphor, we have to talk about the sheer physical presence of the paint itself.
Because it is physically imposing.
Yeah.
It practically invades your space when you look at it. The dominant color palette, especially anchoring the very top and the very bottom of the canvas, is this massive explosion of vibrant, blazing oranges and yellows.
Huge swaths of it.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It is not painted smoothly. It doesn't look like it was gently brushed on by a delicate hand. It is incredibly thick.
Right.
It looks like it was applied with like a masonry trowel,
Uh-huh.
just heavily layered and then aggressively scraped back, leaving these massive ridges and gouges in the paint.
Yeah, the technical term for that is impasto. It's a technique where paint is laid onto the surface so thickly that the strokes of the brush or the painting knife remain entirely visible.
Good texture.
It is. It essentially mixes the paint right there on the canvas. But more importantly, it changes the actual physics of the painting. Impasto lifts the image off the two-dimensional plane. It enters the 3D world.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that those ridges literally catch the ambient light of the room you're standing in, and they cast actual microscopic physical shadows onto the canvas itself.
Which completely changes how your brain processes the image, right?
Completely.
Because looking at the texture here, it almost feels like, well, like I'm looking at a geological cross-section. Like you took a slice out of the Earth's crust right near a tectonic salt line,
Oh, I like that.
where immense pressure and heat are just grinding the rock together. It creates something undeniably beautiful, sure, but it's rough, it's scarred. It feels like an environment that has endured massive friction.
That is precisely what your brain is reacting to. When you see those microshadows cast by the thick paint, your visual cortex instantly calculates mass and weight.
So it feels heavy.
Exactly. You are intuitively feeling the physical exertion of the artist. You can almost feel the velocity and the pressure of the scraping tool pushing that heavy acrylic or oil around. It's an incredibly aggressive act.
Which leads me to something I really want to push back on, actually, especially regarding traditional color theory.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, usually when we think of yellow and orange, we think of like a sunny day, right? We think of a bowl of fresh citrus. These are universally categorized as cheerful or optimistic colors.
Right, very warm, happy tones.
Exactly. But seeing them applied with this rugged, heavy, scraped impasto, I'm looking at this and it doesn't feel sunny at all. It feels hostile.
Yes.
So does the physical application of the paint, like, completely override the inherent psychology of the color itself.
That is the brilliant tension of this piece. You are entirely correct that texture dictates the psychological temperature of the color.
The psychological temperature, I love that.
Yeah, think about it. In a smooth, flat application, yellow is sunlight. It's gentle. But when you introduce this level of rugged, scraped impasto, you change the physics of how the light hits your eye. The yellow and orange here become fiery.
Right.
They aren't radiating warmth, They are radiating intense heat. It's a primal molten energy.
Yes. It's magma, not a daisy.
Exactly. Magma is a perfect way to put it. The texture adds a physical and emotional weight that completely subverts your standard expectation of the palette. The friction, you mentioned earlier, that geological grinding, it grounds you in a space that feels dangerous and volatile.
It really does.
The color is born of that friction. It's basically a combustion happening right at the top and bottom borders of the painting.
It's almost like the canvas is burning at both ends.
Yeah.
You have the top and bottom locked in this bright, heavy, physical inferno.
Yeah.
And structurally, that naturally forces our eye to look at what's caught in the middle. The composition is entirely dictated by this rugged, fiery texture pushing inward.
And as your eye moves inward, escaping those fiery borders, the visual environment shifts dramatically.
Oh, big time.
The layers coalesce, they build up on each other, mixing and muddying until they create a dark, almost impenetrable void right in the center, which sort of spills out toward the left side of the canvas.
It's a massive, jarring contrast.
Yeah.
We leave the blazing orange and suddenly plunge into this dense tangle of murky greens, deep browns, and heavy blacks.
Right into the mud.
Yeah. If the edges are a roaring fire, the center is a violent storm. It's a chaotic backdrop that feels incredibly heavy. But honestly, looking at this dark, muddy center, sometimes abstract art just looks like someone scraped their leftover palette onto the canvas.
Sure, people say that a lot.
It's messy. Why are we giving so much weight to a muddy middle? Is it just the artist venting onto the canvas, or is there a specific visual mechanism at work here?
It's a highly engineered visual mechanism. What the artist has created here is what cognitive scientists might call a coordinate-less space.
A coordinateless space.
Yeah. The human brain evolved to constantly scan our environment for a horizon line, right? For distinct shapes, for threats, or for paths forward. We crave spatial orientation.
We need to know where we are.
Exactly. So when you look at that dark, tangled center, your brain is frantically searching for a recognizable geometric anchor. And because of the impasto technique we talked about, that abyss isn't even flat.
Right, it's 3D.
Yeah, it's a textured landscape of chaotic ridges and valleys made of dark paint. It traps your gaze, but it gives you absolutely no directions.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because when you explain it like that, the brain essentially panics a little bit, right? It's an induced anxiety.
Precisely.
Which makes total sense because when I look at this dark center, flanked by those bright, aggressive, fiery edges, it feels like a perfect visual representation of modern information overload.
Oh, that's a really compelling way to look at it. Walk me through that. How does the canvas map to information overload for you?
Okay, think about what it feels like to just navigate a normal Tuesday for you or me right now. Right. You have all these bright, flashy, loud distractions constantly happening on the periphery of your life. The glowing screens, the notification pings, the breaking news alerts screaming for your attention.
All right.
That is the blazing orange and yellow impasto at the edges of this painting. But internally, your actual cognitive state, you are stuck in this dense, overwhelming, muddy mess in the middle, just trying to process all of it.
Wow.
You're trapped in the dark void while the edges of your life just burn bright.
That is a phenomenal way to contextualize it. You are describing the exact atmospheric tension the artist has constructed. The tension between the loud periphery and the dense, overwhelmed center.
But it makes me wonder about the intent behind trapping the viewer like that. Like in abstract art, when an artist builds such a dominant, chaotic center that deprives your brain of coordinates, is the goal just to overwhelm you? Is it meant to crush you under its weight? Or is it an invitation? Like, is the artist actively challenging you to try and forge a path through that noise?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, looking at the broader history of abstract expressionism, we have to understand that chaos on a canvas is almost never just noise for the sake of noise.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a mistake, and it's certainly not meant to be an oppressive dead end where the viewer simply gives up and walks away.
So it's not just a brick wall to hit your head against.
Far from it. Structurally, the chaos is the crucible. It is the necessary fertile ground from which structure must struggle to emerge.
Oh, I see.
If you think about the human experience, Finding meaning, achieving a breakthrough, creating a sense of identity, it never, ever happens in a vacuum of perfect peace.
Right, it's messy.
It happens precisely because we are wading through turmoil.
So you're saying you actually need the dark, messy, overwhelming background to give the breakthrough its impact. If the whole painting was just perfect geometry, it wouldn't mean anything.
Precisely. The void in this painting represents the baseline condition of existence. It is loud and messy and coordinateless, yes, but it is also the soil.
The soil.
You have to have the chaotic backdrop to truly understand the value of whatever form manages to survive within it, which is exactly how your eye eventually navigates out of that dark center.
Right, because as your eye is wrestling with this murky storm, feeling that induced anxiety, desperately trying to forge a path, it naturally seeks a refuge. We just talked about how the brain wants an anchor.
It craves one.
And right there, positioned on the right side of the canvas, pushing back against the dark greens and blacks, is the most distinct, highly structured element in the entire painting.
A golden halo.
A golden halo. It is this stark, perfectly formed circle, outlined in bright yellow, and it's intersected right through its right side by a sharp, horizontal yellow brushstroke.
It really stands out.
It actually takes your breath away for a second because
Yeah.
it is so entirely alien to everything else happening on the canvas.
It is the single moment of pure, deliberate geometry in a massive sea of organic, rugged impasto. The contrast is jarring, but to a brain exhausted by that coordinateless space, it is incredibly satisfying.
It really is. To use an analogy, if you've been forced to walk barefoot over a mile of jagged, broken gravel, which is our dark, messy void,
Right.
finding this halo is like suddenly stepping onto a perfectly smooth, polished river stone. You can't help but fixate on it. Your brain just latches onto it.
Because it finally provides the coordinate, it gives you a place to stand.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this all mean? I have to be honest, and this is where I really struggle with the balance of this painting. Yes, it's an anchor, but the line weight of that yellow circle is remarkably thin.
And it's very delicate.
It's incredibly delicate compared to the massive, heavy geological impasto that surrounds it. You can literally see the dark, murky void right through the center of the circle.
Yes.
It isn't a solid disc.
Right, it's transparent in the middle.
Yeah. So I have to ask, is this halo really a triumphant, conquering symbol of hope? Or is it a fragile, flimsy little thing that is right on the verge of being completely swallowed by the chaos? Because to my eye, it looks like it's losing the fight.
It's very easy to mistake delicacy for weakness. But mechanically, here's why that thinness is actually the most powerful and aggressive choice the artist could possibly make.
Really?
Yes. This raises an important question about how we view the relationship between order and chaos, not just in art, but psychologically. We inherently want it to be a binary battle, a zero-sum game where one side completely destroys the other.
Right. It's either broken or not broken. It's winning or it's losing.
But the brilliance of this specific composition is that it entirely rejects that binary. Think about it like noise-canceling headphones.
Okay.
When you are on a loud, roaring airplane, the headphones don't physically remove the chaotic noise of the engines from the air around you.
Right. The plane is still loud.
Exactly. And they don't defeat the noise by being louder than it. Instead, they introduce a specific, precise counter-frequency. That precision is what allows your brain to find equilibrium despite the roaring chaos.
Oh, wow. That is fascinating. So the halo isn't trying to outshout the heavy paint.
Exactly. If the halo were painted with thick, heavy, dominant impasto, it would just be another aggressive element in a painting already full of aggression.
It would just be more noise.
It would be fighting fire with fire. By making it a delicate, perfectly thin geometric line, the artist places it on a completely different frequency. It operates on a higher, quieter plane than the noise around it. It doesn't anchor the piece by sheer weight. It anchors it by precision.
So it's not a stalemate. They aren't locked in a battle.
I'd call it a delicate, persistent defiance. The halo represents a profound moment of stillness. It is an anchor of clarity, perhaps even a suggestion of a highly enlightened state of mind, given the historical and spiritual use of halos in art.
Sure.
But crucially, it doesn't need to defeat the heavy, messy reality of the world in order to be valid. It simply exists within it. Its power is in its persistence, not in its dominance.
That is a massive paradigm shift. It's not about waiting for the dark storm to clear so that perfect geometry can finally take over. It's about the geometry holding its shape because of the storm.
Exactly.
The fragility of the circle is no weakness. The fragility is the very thing that makes its survival so impressive to the viewer. You can see the dark void right through the center of it, and yet the circle hold its boundary.
And that is the ultimate reward of spending time with a piece of abstract expressionism like this. It proves that sometimes the most accurate way to depict the human experience isn't by painting a literal picture of a person's face.
Right, the window we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's by painting the invisible forces that constantly act upon us. The pressure, the noise, the search for an anchor.
It is an incredible psychological journey when you step back and look at the whole 2017 Anupam Gupta canvas from that perspective. I mean, we start at the extreme edges, immediately pulled in by the physical aggression of that rugged impasto and the fiery, molten heat of those oranges and yellows.
Yeah.
And then we get dragged into the absolute depths of a chaotic, muddy, emotional void in the center, that coordinateless space that perfectly mirrors modern anxiety and overwhelm.
The necessary crucible.
Yes, the crucible, the soil. And just when your brain feels completely lost, when the space feels totally unnavigable, we are offered a profound visual salvation. Not an escape hatch to leave the painting, but a precise frequency that allows us to stand firmly inside of it.
Beautifully put.
We find that fragile, perfect geometry of the golden halo persisting in delicate defiance of the dark. It's a remarkable piece of visual storytelling without using a single representational image. It completely rewrites the rules of what a painting can do to your brain.
It really does. It gives you a mental model. Once you learn how to read the visual mechanics of a canvas like this, you start seeing those same mechanics playing out in how you process the world around you.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. We've spent this time breaking down the physical and cognitive mechanics of this canvas. But the true lasting power of abstract art is that it ultimately acts as a mirror. The paint on the canvas is dry. It doesn't change. But what you project onto it, based on your own lived experience, well, that changes every single day. So as you go about the rest of your week, think about this tension.
Yeah.
If this canvas is a reflection of the human mind, what does your own personal chaos look like right now? What is making up the heavy, dense, coordinateless impasto in your daily life?
That's the big question.
And more importantly, when the noise gets overwhelmingly loud and you feel stuck in that dark void, what takes the shape of the golden halo that provides the precise frequency to keep you anchored?